Good evening. In a major update, the US Supreme Court today rejected Tahawwur Rana's plea to halt his extradition to India. The 26/11 Mumbai attack accused, linked to the Lashkar-e-Toiba, now faces trial in India after President Trump approved his transfer last month. Rana has now made a final plea before the US Chief Justice. We'll see what happens there. But with the prospects of Rana being extradited to India very strong, will there finally be justice for the victims of the 26/11 attacks? We've got a very special panel. Chef Hemant Oberoi at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel during the 26/11 attacks faced a terrifying crisis when terrorists struck on the 26th of November 2008. Initially mistaking gunfire for a film shoot, he quickly led efforts to secure guests, locking down restaurants and evacuating them amidst chaos. Losing 7 staff, including his sous chef, Vijay Banja, he survived, later reopening the hotel in defiance, haunted yet driven by duty and the ethos, guest is God. We're also joined by Dilip Mehta, a businessman who survived the 26/11 Taj Hotel attack while attending a dinner. Trapped for 9 hours amidst gunfire and blasts, he hid with 38 others, contacting his family during the chaos. Representing India at the 2011 Victims Congress, he later reflected on the trauma's lasting impact and his renewed purpose to give back. I'd like to thank all of my guests very much for being with us. Let me come across to you first, Mr. Oberoi. The fact that Tahawwur Rana might in fact be coming back to India, it's justice that we've been trying to get for so many years now. Do you believe that there will finally be justice for those who lost their lives during 26/11?
I'm sure to some extent, if you ask me, if it is only to some extent, because it's too much delayed. 2008, and it's after 17 years, literally, we are talking of still the justice to be meted out. I think it's been quite long. I mean, it could have been done much earlier, but nevertheless, it's never too late in life. But a lot of people have lost their near and dear ones, and probably they won't see the justice being done also. And because some of the couples have died, if the husband had died, the wife died within 2 years, and the young children are going to see whether the justice is meted out or not. But nevertheless, it's never too late. At least justice will prevail, and we will ensure that, these kind of things don't happen again.
Dilip Mehta, are there days or nights when you just can't get, that memory of 26/11 out of your head?
Yes, absolutely. You're right on the dot. I am a very happier man, as I would reckon that yesterday's development was the most vital in terms of extraditing Tahawwur Rana, as everyone knows, the main culprit and the man behind fixing all the logistics prior to the attack. And I'm really aghast and shocked to know that he was pleading with the Supreme Court that he will be put into inhuman kind of treatment and also go through some agony or ill treatment by India. Now, look at the man who's talking about such issues where he himself has been the culprit for people's agony here in India, and I was traumatized for 6 months myself. So I'm just giving you perspective about the snowballing implications, people who have survived and who were victims on that particular day at 26/11. Now, he says that there has been some 6-7 kind of illness about bladder issues and cancer to the liver. And these are all, absolutely unethical. I mean, he's unethical himself. He cannot put forward such issues relating to his health and seek exemption from extradition. I would give full marks to our Prime Minister Mr. Modi, who had a very structured agenda with Mr. Donald Trump, and he said, "Look, this is justice delayed is not denied. You please act." And one of the agenda was to request him to extradite to India.
No, absolutely. Mr. Mehta, just hold your thought. I want to go back to Mr. Oberoi.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I can't imagine, Mr. Oberoi, how difficult it would have been after the attack itself. We know all about you. We know about your heroism. But how do you get over the fact that several of your closest colleagues lost their lives? It's been so many years now. Do you remember every single moment? Does it go by like a flash? Do you keep up with the family members of those who lost their lives? Tell us about how you've been dealing with this for all these years. Mr. Oberoi, can you hear me? All right, we've lost that line. We'll come back to him in just a moment. I'm also joined by Robert Dobbs, an expert on intelligence and counter-terrorism. Mr. Dobbs, do you believe that Tahawwur Rana has any realistic chance of not being sent back to India?
Oh, no, I think you're going to see a full cooperation between the United States and India. And I think that's one thing we can understand, that the relationship between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump is very close. And, we have a new regime in Washington, D.C. that is taking a zero tolerance towards terrorism. And I think it also sends a message to the Pakistan military and ISI that their constant meddling within Central Asia is over, and that President Donald Trump will, assist India in any manner possible to ensure it's protected, and those who have perpetrated any crimes against it will face justice.
Do you believe, sir, that we will have a better idea of the role of Pakistan's ISI once the extradition does take place?
Yes, I do believe. I think what you will see is a different relationship between President Donald Trump and Pakistan, because basically under President Joe Biden, Pakistan and the ISI kind of have had a free reign, especially Afghanistan and other areas in Central Asia. And I think you're going to see that come to a halt now because of the close relationship that you see between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi.
Let me just go across to Mr. Oberoi once again. Mr. Oberoi, we lost your line there for a moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
No, I was just trying to ask you about, how you are able to deal with what you experienced that day. You saved so many lives, and yet you saw so many people die as well. Do you keep up with those families?
You see, for some time, the trauma was definitely there for first few hours. But then I thought to myself that if, as a leader, I don't have to show anything to the people around me. And as a leader, I have to carry on with the team. And that's what we did. We encouraged everybody to come back. We had cleaned up the back areas so well, so that as if nothing has happened, no blood stains seen, nothing was seen by the people, by the staff when they came to duty. So that's what we did to boost the morale of the people.
And just to go back to your initial thoughts, it's been so many years, and you sound cynical about whether there will be justice. In your own mind, do you feel that that time has passed?
Maybe to some extent it may not be, but most of the time have passed actually, because people don't even remember. The Gen Next doesn't even remember what happened on 26/11. It's only the few people who suffered will remember that. And it's a pity that, our memories are very short-lived. And probably very few people will remember what happened on 26/11. And after a few years, that also will not happen. So justice will, yes, we will remember it. Some of our colleagues will remember it. And it should be done. They have to be brought to the book. And I think the severe punishment has to be done to those people who killed innocent people that night. I mean, what was their fault that they killed innocent people and now they are pleading for their life? They can't do that.
Mr. Mehta, just for the benefit of our viewers, could you remind us about what you saw and heard around you on that day?
Sure. I was attending a conference on the 19th floor of Taj, and the elevator which took me up at 7:30 in my life, I would never imagine that the elevator is not going to be available to me 9 or 10 hours later. Now, exactly, I precisely remember, I will never forget in my life, that it was 9:42, and people, we were wanting to go down to the elevator. The security stopped us, and then we were told that there is some gang war down, and you'll have to hold up upstairs. Within 5 minutes or so, it was loud and clear that there isn't any gang war, but there is a terror attack on our country, on our soil, on this hotel. And we were all, aghast and could not think correctly, could not apply our mind and to find the only thing working on our minds were how to escape. We could see the shaking of the glass walls on the 19th floor. We could see the bomb blast. We could see the fire engulfing on the dome on both the sides. And Shom, it was one of the worst kind of experience one could ever imagine. People who were, getting goosebumps while watching the TV. But we at the center of the point, nobody could imagine as to what was going on with us. Now, it is such a strange situation that the cops and the security of Taj made a great attempt, and by risking their life, they could help us to escape from the exit stairs, walking down with our shoes on our hands, and somebody been put on the chair, and everybody was asked to keep quiet because you never know whom you might confront in the dark. So those 30 minutes were I don't know, but the most traumatic time of my life there on that day, Shom.
Absolutely horrific. Well, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts. I did speak earlier on to one of India's leading prosecutors in this case, Ujjwal Nikam. Here's what he told me. Well, joining us now, a very special guest, one of the senior most criminal lawyers in the country, I would suspect anywhere in Asia. Ujjwal Nikam, thank you very much, sir, for being with us. It is an important day. Tahawwur Rana is set to be extradited to India. He has made one final appeal to the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. But assuming he does get extradited over here, what are some of the specific charges that he would face different from what he faces in the United States?
Let me make it very clear that the charge that is supposed to be framed against the Tahawwur Rana is the Delhi Special Court. And it is for the National Investigating Agency, firstly, to adduce the evidence. Of course, they have adduced some evidence. But I firmly believe the main charge against Tahawwur Rana would be of the criminal conspiracy. And perhaps that would be the main charge against Tahawwur Rana for hatching criminal conspiracy for committing the various terrorist activities, like the terror attack of 26 November.
Sir, once he does come back to India, again, assuming that it does go through, will we get ultimately a better understanding of the role of the ISI in 2611?
Say, I'm optimist because David Headley I have examined in Mumbai court, because David Headley entered into plea bargain agreement between the US government and himself. And on that basis, the Chicago court had sentenced him for 35 years. But one of the important conditions of that plea bargain agreement that David Headley would adduce the evidence. And when I examined the David Headley as an accomplice or approver in Mumbai court, then David Headley has relied upon certain email correspondence which was exchanged between Lashkar-e-Toiba and the David Headley. And we also found one diary with David Headley, of course, which he had produced in Chicago court. And in that diary, he had noted certain numbers of Pakistan army officials with their designation, Major General, Lieutenant Colonel, and so on. And on my question to him, he clarified that these are the numbers of Pakistan army officials. They are thickly connected with LAT. So I anticipate by extraditing Tahawwur Rana, perhaps we will get more information, and that too in the form of the evidence.
What is the procedure for physically bringing him back to India?
See, now the US administration has taken the decision in principle because the US President Donald Trump has made it very clear that they would like to extradite Tahawwur Rana as a bad element on their soil. So once the Supreme Court has already now rejected his prayer recently, that his allegation was that he'll be tortured, he'll be ill-treated, being a Pakistan origin, he being a Muslim. So all these nonsense pleas which have been rejected by the US Supreme Court. So now it is for once it has been rejected, all legal remedies are being exhausted. Of course, it has already exhausted by him. So Tahawwur Rana, only the US Secretary has to pass an order, and that order will be, so immediately the NIA authorities will take his possession and they will bring him to Mumbai. No, sorry, to Delhi.
I'm just trying to understand, obviously, as you mentioned in the beginning, a court would decide on the charges that he faces. But is the death penalty one of the potential charges?
See, the question of sentence would arise only after adducing the evidence. At present, I am not aware actually what type of material is having our NIA. And once the NIA will make it clear, and once they adduce the evidence, then the question of sentence will arise. But till then, no.
How important are the developments in the US court to the families of those who've lost their loved ones as a result of the Pakistani attack on 26/11?
So it seems US is very sensitive on this issue so far as the terror attack of 26 November, because one of the agenda of these terrorists that to kill the foreigners so that foreigners can be persuaded not to come to India, not to invest the money in India. And that is the reason. And some of the Americans had also died during the terror attack. So I personally feel that it is the only after extradition of Tahawwur Rana, the many things would come on surface.
Okay. Just in terms of the process which took place in the United States, his argument, which was ultimately rejected, was that there was a duality in the charges against him and that he couldn't face charges for which he's been convicted and sentenced in America and then potentially face those in India again. But it has been proven and accepted by the US legal system that the charges that he faces here are different from the charges that he's faced in America. It's that key judgment which actually enabled this process to go forward, correct?
Yes, absolutely correct. But you see, American law and Indian law on this issue is very same. In India, we call it as a double jeopardy. For the same offense for which you have already been convicted, the other court of other country cannot try him and convict him. That is the law. So India has made it very clear in US court that the NIA is not going to frame the charges so far as which are already been convicted, by the Chicago court, and for the criminal conspiracy so far as the terror attack of 26 November. And US government has in principle made it also clear to the US Supreme Court that the charges for which India wants his extradition are quite different than that what has been already convicted by Chicago court.
All right. So in your mind, does this close the chapter potentially if he's brought back to India on the investigation process into one of the worst tragedies which befell our country?
Yes, certainly right. That will
Alright.
be closer to that.
Mr. Nikam, thank you very much for speaking to us. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Tahawwur Rana's emergency plea seeking stay in extradition was rejected by the US Supreme Court. He had made several attempts to avoid extradition to India, but all have failed. US President Donald Trump had earlier approved his extradition after courts in US rejected all his petitions. Rana is a key accused in 26/11 terror attack case and was named by his associate David Headley. Rana will be the first high-profile accused who will be tried in connection to 26/11 case in India. Rana's extradition and subsequent questioning in India will help agencies here unearth the larger conspiracy involvement of Pakistan in 26/11 and unearth deeper terror networks. It will ensure accountability and also help understand other planners, financiers, handlers connected to the case. Terrorists like Hafiz Saeed, Zakirul Rahman Lakwi have been named in the charge sheet, and their whereabouts and whether any of the terrorists are being shielded by Pakistan will perhaps be clear during his questioning. We know for a fact that Ajmal Kasab, the lone terrorist, was caught alive and was hanged in 2012. Abu Jindal's trial is stalled. So Rana's extradition is very important in the case. As per agencies, Rana had facilitated Headley's travel to Mumbai. Headley's a key conspirator in the case. Rana had opened consultancy immigration center in Mumbai, gave cover to Headley to stay in India. He was in constant touch with Headley, was instrumental in providing logistics for the attack. The charge sheet of the Mumbai police also mentions Rana's presence in Mumbai just ahead of 26/11 attacks as well. India has gathered evidence to prove Rana's active role in terror attacks and his arrest by Indian agencies will bring a form of closure and relief to survivors of 26/11, those who lost their lives in the tragic attacks as well.